I am Marilyn Kaltenborn, and today, June 9th, 2012, I'm once again talking to Justus Belfield about his days in the United States Army during World War II. In April of this year, Jay, as he likes to be called, told us about his days in the United States Cavalry. Then, in May, he told us about his years in the United States Army during the beginning of World War II. Once again, we are at the studio of our local public access television station in Bethlehem, New York at the Bethlehem Public Library. I would like to thank Janice Irwin, who is once again operating the camera and providing us with technical assistance. One thing I have forgotten to mention is that Jay and I intend to send a copy of these shows that we have been making to the Veterans History Project, a part of the Library of Congress. Jay, we learned in our previous interviews that you were born in Utica, New York on June 27th, 1916.
That's correct.
And you now live in Glenmont, New York with your wife of 70 years.
That's correct.
Jay, in the last two interviews, we learned that you joined the United States Cavalry in 1936.
That's correct.
When you were 19 years old, and that you were honorably discharged from there in 1940.
That's correct.
Then, soon after, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, you, like many men in the United States, enlisted in the Army.
Well, I did that for a reason.
Go ahead.
If I waited until I got drafted, I'd been a private.
Oh, and
but by enlisting, I went in as a corporal.
oh, very interesting.
Yes.
And then you told me in the audience in our last interview that you were in the reserves for a year after you enlisted before you were called to active duty.
That's correct.
And then at the last interview, you mentioned to us the various Army installations where you were stationed in the United States before going to Europe. And what ship did you go to Europe on?
I went on the USAT Born-Quinn, which was a wooden ship, the last wooden transport in service. And my trip over to Europe was its last trip over.
Oh,
When it came back, it was decommissioned.
okay, very interesting. And then at the end of our last interview, you had told us about the train that was operated by the Nazi sympathizer that you were not on. And it was a miracle that you were not on that train. You and your men were originally assigned to be on that train, but due to a mix-up, you were on trucks and other soldiers were on the train.
There was no actually there was no mix-up. What happened was we got off the ship first.
Oh.
And it was dark out already when we got off the ship. We crossed the
English Channel?
English Channel from Portsmouth, Southampton to Le Havre. And we stood on the wharf at Le Havre for hours and hours and hours with our clothing. And it was cold, it was winter. And I was beginning to turn into an icicle. And somebody said, I wish they'd get us out of here. Well, we didn't know why we were waiting. We were waiting to get on the train. Well, they said, the second company is not ready to get off the ship yet, so you take their place on those trucks over there, which are theirs, and they will take your place on the train.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, Jay.
So when the train, well, you can go on with the story.
Right. In the last interview, you explained about the accident with the train.
There was no accident.
Well, that the exactly that the engineer intentionally accelerated the train such that it ran into a wall or an embankment?
Into the station.
Into the station.
All right into the station.
And it killed and injured many soldiers.
Well, most of them were the ones that took our place on the train.
Right. And then at the conclusion of the last interview, you were about to tell us about another experience you had with trains and that were operated by Nazi sympathizers.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us that story?
Yes. We were, when we got finally located there, we were at St. Valerie's, France. And we were there for about a week, maybe 2. And we were loaded on 40 and 8 cars again to go on from there.
Now explain to the audience what a 40 and 8 car is.
Oh, well, a 40 and 8 car is it ain't a box car, and yet it's built like a box car, but open on the sides a little bit so you can get some fresh air in it. We needed fresh air. 40 and 8 are 40 men or 8 horses. And the car I got into, they forgot to take the exhaust out of the car.
The horse exhaust.
Well, of course the horse's exhaust. And so we had to clean out the car before we could get in, and whoo. Well, we got in there, and it cleared itself out. And we, well, all ready to go, and we start moving. I think to myself, we ain't going north, we're going south. I keep thinking to myself. And I looked out the side, and I could see we were going south. So I looked out, and I see the Eiffel Tower. Hey, that's Paris. They ain't no Belgium, that's Paris. And we're supposed to be going to Belgium. So I hollered up the captain, the next car up, to tell the sergeant, tell the captain, we're going toward Paris. Well, the captain was confused, confounded, and he didn't know what to do. I said, easy, pull the chain. I don't pull it out, you pull it. And he pulled it, and it stopped. Stop that train quick. He told him, get that, I won't use his language, get that engine off of there and on the other side of the train. We want to go north. Well, it took about 2 hours, but they did get it around, and we started north. Well, it took us a little longer, of course, because we were so far south already. And the next thing I know, it was close to midnight again. We ended up in a little town in Belgium called Alsenburg. And all the people in the town, I guess, probably 12 or 14 of them there, they came out to see the Americans getting off the train. Oh, vive l'America, vive America. They were so happy to see us coming in there. Well, and we didn't last. Now they had trucks there first, and we were out of there and nothing flat. And we went to let's see, where'd we go?
Well, we can...
Brussels. We went to Brussels. We went to Brussels, and that's where I had my first house in Brussels. It was a big, beautiful villa. And all my men and I occupied the villa. The end of the town, end of the field was a field house, and there was like pool tables and all that kind of stuff in it. You know, ping pong.
Right.
And the field between was a soccer field. And they lived up there, and I lived down there. I'm glad I did, because the old man, his lieutenants stayed up there. So the old man was a captain, by the way, and we stayed there, and it was beautiful, beautiful. I loved it there.
Now we want to ask you, did you ever have soldiers work for you or with you who were physically injured or mentally distressed?
Yes, I sure did.
Would you tell us about that?
Well, they gave them to me mainly because I asked for them. These men that were physically and mentally impaired came to me and said, "Sergeant Belfield, we hear that you're a good guy to work for. Will you take us in?" I said, "Well, I'll put in a word. It's up to First Sergeant. He'll put you where he wants you." So first I got this Joe Sedmack from Steubenville, Ohio. He was on the Aleutians, and the Japs shot his muscle right out of his arm. They had steel bullets, and they took the whole thing. So he couldn't salute, he couldn't do anything. I just hung.
Right.
And that was all. And he's entirely in trouble all the time because he couldn't salute, he couldn't do this and he couldn't do that, and he was right-handed. And he asked me, could I go to work for you? I said, "Sure. I'll take you, and I'll find a job for you." So, next thing you know, I got Joe. Then another guy was from Mississippi, a real low rib. Man, he couldn't hardly talk English. That boy, he didn't know how to talk English. Well, I guess he did somehow, because he said to me, "Sergeant Belfield, I sure wish I could work for you." I said, "I sure wish you could work for me too." So what happened was, he was in the 1st Armored Division in North Africa, and it almost got wiped out. He was one of the few survivors.
My goodness.
And he was shell-shocked as they come. Well, you know, that's a word we call shell-shocked. And the guys used to go into mess hall, and they'd drop their trays on the floor, and all white would dive under a table. Couldn't help it.
Right.
And I got on him for that. We got over that hump real quick. And when he wasn't working for me, I had no say. But as soon as he came to work for me, I told him, "No more of that." And old white boy, he would do anything in the world for me. And I had some other ones too, that were not quite as bad as those two, but they're bad too.
And why were they not discharged? Why didn't the Army discharge those men?
To this day, I don't know the answer to that one. I can't answer that one.
Now, I believe you had some prisoners of war working for you.
Well, much later.
Much later, but would you tell us about that experience?
Let's see. How do I get from where we are, to where we want to go? I changed posts, and I got into another unit, and the other unit said, do you know anything about small? I says, I'm a small arms repairman. He said, well, would you be interested in taking over at the railhead where all the armament's coming? We're cleaning up the battlefield. I said, sure, I'll take a shot at it. Well, they said, you'll get 150 Italians to work for you. So I said, okay. Well, I might as well have had 150 people that were from North Pole, because they didn't want to know anything that I said, and didn't want to do anything. They just sit there half the day. Well, wasn't long, I got rid of them, and they gave me 150 Germans. Well, the Germans, the minute they got there, they were fast workers. They'd work. We got all the whole yard all cleaned up, the railhead all cleaned up, and it wasn't long at all. And they still were Germans, and they were doing a little talking behind my back about me.
In German?
In German. And they're telling me talking about this stupid sergeant. He don't know too much, or we wouldn't be able to get away with what we do, and so forth. And so one day they said something about me I didn't like. It was something nasty in German, but it so happens I know what it was. And I turned around and I said to him, "Ich sprechen de Deutsch." You want to see faces fall? Boom! It went down like that. And these guys that were talking, they said, "He speaks German." I'm talking in German now. He speaks German. Says, "How do you speak German?" I said, "My mother was German." I said, "My grandfather and grandmother spoke German in the house all the time, and I can speak it." I said, "But they wouldn't speak it outside the house." And they said, "Oh, then you're half German." I said, "Yes, I'm half German." Well, from that day on, I didn't have to do anything. Those Germans bowed down every time they went by me. And they said, the major came by and he saw them sitting around, a few of them sitting around. He said, "You can't have those people sitting around like that." He said, they all got to be working. I said, "Well, they're working so fast that there's nothing to do for the day. We got to wait until the new load come in." So he said, "Well, you got to get rid of some of them, and if they saw that, they'd have you be in trouble." So I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to take 100. I'm going to take away 50." I said, "Oh, that's fine. I can do those 100 will do the job well." So I had 100 doing the work of 150 Italians and the 150 Germans. And that went along for about a week. And the major comes down again. He looks around. He sees some of them not doing too much. So he said, "I got to take some more men away from you." I said, "Well, that's fine." But I says, "If you take more men away from me, I have to have 4 SS troopers in that group." I said, "How many SS troopers do I have if you take more men away?" He said, "None." I said, "Take them." So he did. So I didn't have any more SS troopers. Well, those 75 men I had left would work. They didn't know the name of anything but work. Arbeiten in German. And I said to them, I'm going to tell you guys what I'll do for you. You guys are such good workers. I'm going to take 6 of you each weekend, and I'll take you down to the bar, and I'll buy you all a beer. Whoa! If you want to see guys work, you had to see them. They would work and work and work and work. And so I picked 6 of the best workers out of it, and I took them down to the bar. Well, it's not a bar in Belgium, it's a cafe. So we went to the cafe, and I walk in, set my German prisoners down. Of course, they're speaking German to one another. And I said to the bartender, I said, get us 7 beers. So he says, you okay? I'm not serving them. I said, oh, I'll tell you what you do. I'll bet you a free beer that you will do. I said to the 6, I said, take this take this place away apart. And I said, don't do it slow, do it fast, like that. Mach schnell. And so he looked at me and he says, no, he says, I'll bring you 6 beers for them. That was the first, last, and only time I had trouble with that.
And so every week you took 6?
Every week I took my six prisoners, not the same ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had no more trouble with the bartender?
No more. Oh no, he thought it was great that I was bringing six of them down.
Right, good for business.
Well, good for business, and yeah, I told him, I said, the war's over. You don't have to get mad at these guys. The war's over.
That's right. You were, and these prisoners of war were taking care of the armaments that were coming off the battlefield,
That's
right?
correct.
Right.
They're coming back again in 48 cars, loaded to the hilt, all just throw it in there. Rifles, grenades, rocket launchers, rockets. I was afraid to open the door. What might happen? So I used to tell them the doors. I'd stay back. And but we never had any accidents. One day I'm sitting, standing up there, watching them work, and one German comes up to me, Sergeant. I said, "Was ist los? What's going on?" And he says, "There's a car down in the yard there." He says, with the lock on it broke, and some of the things in it are broken open. I said, "What is it?" He says, you see, come with me." So I went down and looked. Brand new 45 pistols, still in Cosmoline, and it had been opened, and some of the pistols were gone. So I think for a minute, "Hey Jay, nobody will know the difference." So I took about a half a dozen of them. And then I went up and told them they had to put a new lock on it and send them where they were supposed to go. They weren't even supposed to come to me.
Well, that was a good thing that was many years ago, Jay. Now, I see that we're running out of time again today. So you were discharged, I believe, from Fort Dix.
Yes.
And what was your highest rank when you were in the Army?
Sergeant, first class.
Sergeant, and that's what you were discharged as?
Yes, yes.
Yes. And you came back to the United States from Europe by ship.
Yep.
And do you remember the name of that ship?
The Aiken Victory. Do I remember it? Ooh. I was scared of the wooden ship, but at least I had one thing about it I didn't have to worry about. If it did get blown up, I could grab a piece of the ship.
That's right, the wood would float.
But this Aiken Victory, we went through the English Channel. I went, eecock, eecock. I thought it was going to break in half. but we made it.
But you made it.
We made it. Oh, yeah. I can't walk on water and I'm here.
So as we're winding up, I'd like to point out that you brought the Stars and Stripes newspaper that is dated May 8th, 1945, that declares
that's
the
the day
victory.
that's Victory
And you
Day.
also brought the Belgium newspaper that declares victory, and that is dated May 9th. And at the top of this newspaper, you have the signatures of many of the men in your troop.
No,
Right? What-
no. Those are Belgians.
Oh, okay.
The Belgian friends of mine.
So this is a, I would say this is a very rare newspaper.
It sure is.
Well, thank you very much, Jay, for coming in today. And I'd like to thank the Bethlehem Community Network for assisting us. And that concludes our show.
I think they've been wonderful about this. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you, Jay. And happy birthday early.
Thank you, too. Oh,
You're going to be 96 in a few days.
yeah.
Thank you. And that concludes our show.